Welcome to episode 3 of Tool Use. Tool Use is a weekly conversation about helpful AI tools where we teach you what's possible today by showing you real projects we put together. This week's focus is tools that build tools, and you're going to want to stick around if you're looking to exponentially increase your productivity because we have a couple great projects for you. And this is actually a really important episode in the evolution of Tool Use because it's the first episode with a guest, and we're really excited for the conversation we're going to have with them. I'm Mike Bird, talking with everyone's favorite, Ty Fierro. Ty, how's it going?
I'm doing great. I'm really on a roll here. I'm excited to show you my demo. I kind of brought the heat this week, so you're gonna really have to show something crazy to beat me, I think.
Oh man, yeah, you throw the trash talking, so I'm excited to see how this one goes down.
It's playful though. It's playful. There's no trophies here, but you know.
Ooh, not
I'm
yet.
A little
at least.
competitive, so like, yeah, there it is. I love it. We maybe should have like a virtual trophy we pass back and forth or something.
Ooh, yeah. Well, wait till we get the AI judge to do it for us.
Oh, there we go. I love that.
Excellent.
Well, good stuff. Well, I can kind of just jump into my demo if you're down for it.
By all means, hit it up.
All right. So for my demo this week, I made a script that makes scripts. It's kind of wild. They call it Script-o-matic. And so what Script-o-matic lets you do is you can run Script-o-matic and then enter in a prompt, like let's say I want an interactive story generator. I hit enter. It's gonna pop up my cool little factory logo, some Script-o-matic stuff here. It's going to make so what it's going to basically do, I have this very simple kind of prompt I gave it. So of course I love DSPy. I'm going to say this every week until people start using it more, but this is going to make an enhanced user prompt. So it's just going to take this and it's going to enhance a little bit, right? So it's going to be like, yeah, simple text-based interface, include a library of story elements with characters, settings, and a plot. And that's just really going to steer kind of where this heads. So I think that's an important step here. And then I pass this into OpenAI structured output. And so I make a call to OpenAI with this enhanced user prompt. And basically what it's going to do is I have it spit out an array of like, I guess it's called a list in Python. I'm a JavaScript guy, but it's a list of steps, right? So it's all the steps of its thought process. And so I'm like, here's the description. I want you to try to think about what this script could be and show me your thought process as you go. And so it's actually going to kind of do this like reasoning here. I built my own project, Strawberry. No, I'm just kidding. But we have a thought process. It kind of goes through a thought process, and then it builds that to a single concise step. Goes step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and you can kind of see it go through its little thing here. Goes all the way to step 6, and then it's going to make a description of what the script should actually be. And so, yeah, sustainable for long-term use, story contents externalized, yada, yada, yada. And it's going to make a script name that we're going to store and use in the future. We're actually going to save that as the Python file with the script name. It's also going to tell me the outputs and the parameters. And so this, again, was the structured outputs from OpenAI, which is fantastic, by the way. It's the first time I've played with it, and it hasn't had a single error while I've been playing with it. I've done several hundred calls to it at this point. So, but yeah, it tells me kind of a list of all the different outputs it's going to do, and then the parameters that will go into it. And then it's going to make the code. I have it shortened to just 100 here, but boom, script generated and saved as interactive story generator.py. Let's see if it actually saved. Interactive story generator, yeah. And there it is. Okay, so it can make single scripts that you can run, and it makes a little Python program for whatever you want. But that to me wasn't enough. I really want this thing to like run itself, figure out if it worked or not, and then put it in a loop to keep having it run until it figures itself out. And so I can call Script-o-matic. Let's do world times displayed for every time zone on Earth. Sure. Let's see if that can do that. And then if I pass in the -- loop, I get my cool little Script-o-matic that I spent way too long on. Again, gives me the enhanced user prompt, so it's going to tells me what library it should use, and it should iterate through each time zone, blah, 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 blah. It actually just tells me how it should work, which is pretty cool. And then again, goes to the structured output, tells its reasoning, so it actually kind of like works through how it would do it, gives me a description, the script name, and all the outputs and parameters. This one doesn't actually need parameters, it seems like, so it didn't do that. Okay, so here's what it is. Makes the code. It generated the script. It saved it into that directory. And now it's going to actually, I use a different structured outputs to read the contents of the script, pull out all of the necessary pip packages that are required for the script to run, and we just return those as a list of strings. And so this is the only required package we needed. It's going to try to pip install it. Boom, package installed successfully. And then it's actually going to pass it with that same command. Actually, it figures out what pip packages it needs. It's going to generate a run command for it. Because some of these scripts are kind of complex, right? Where it requires multiple parameters and different things. And I don't want to have to like learn how to run this. And so don't ignore, this is just supposed to be Python. But yeah, here you go. Python, it's going to pass in a Europe region in compact, whatever that means, because it generated a script. And it's going to evaluate the script output. So the GPT is actually going to let us know if it worked. So evaluation result, success. Okay, the script worked successfully. It accessed all the time zones in the European region. Use a PyTZ library, blah, 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 blah. Script ran successfully. We're done. So it actually did work. I kind of want to see if it worked myself real quick. Let's just try to run it ourselves and see what it outputs. Yeah, okay, boom. Actually gave us every time zone for all of Europe, which is kind of cool. All the different cities and what time it is there. Kind of wild. Okay, but I took this one step further because I sometimes just kind of draw a blank on what I want. So I have this other thing in here, Script-o-matic, called inspo. Yep, spelled that right. Boom. Okay, same thing. It's going to run me through this little thing, and it's like, all right, inspiration mode enabled. Let's find you some ideas for your script. Okay, enter a general category or general request for your script ideas. Let's try something like emoji art. Maybe that'll be fun. Okay. All right. So now it gave me some different ideas. Emoji art gallery generator, art to text translator, art creator, emoji art journey map. Cool. Mood visualizer. Wild. Okay. So there's all sorts of things here. So I just kind of picked the number of the one I want. Like, let's try this. Let's try. Let's try art gallery generator. That sounds right. Okay, so now it's going to take that prompt, and again, it's going to do another enhanced prompt to make it actually a little bit more appealing. And then it's going to run through the progress again. And so, yeah, it's going to tell me what the script should be, the parameters, the outputs, the script name. So these parameters here are actually things that need to be passed into the script. And I use Claude 3.5 Sonnet to write the script because it's the best coder right now, and I use GPT-4o for everything else, all the structured output stuff. A lot of this project was I just wanted to play with structured outputs, so here we are. So boom, it's working properly. It's going to pip install an emoji library, I guess, in Colorama, and then it's going to install the packages successfully. It's going to run it, and then see if it worked. Okay, explanation result. Success. The script worked as intended. The output for emoji art for happy clearly showed in style structure, blah, 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 various emojis like this. So it did work. Boom. And so I actually was hoping this failed because I have a whole thing where if it fails, then it will ask you if you want to try again. And if you want to try again, then you can add comments to it. You can add like a sentence of like, sometimes it just trips up and it's like, keeps failing on an API key something. So you could pass in the API key in that comment, and then it's going to run through it again and again and again. And I actually have a separate flag called auto loop, which you could just turn on and it'll just keep on going until it succeeds. But I'm not made of money, so I'm just going to I like some human in the loop right here so we can kind of rein it in. But yeah, this is Script-o-matic, generate scripts that you can run, and it's kind of fun. So I think my plan is to clean up this code a little bit, and then I'll probably actually push it up as a pip package, pip install Script-o-matic, and then you can run it from your command line and generate any script you want to if you have a GPT-4 key. So yeah, that's my demo for the week.
Dude, that was such a cool demo. I love the fact that you're able to take a script and then have GPT-4 review it, test it, run through it. Those are the parts that have yet to be automated by major services. So being able to just like plumb up some different parts to have it go, like you can just run this on autocomplete basically and just have it do its thing. I loved it. And oh, poor you, your demo went perfectly the first time.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I was actually hoping for it to fail so I could show how it failed, but Claude 3.5 Sonnet's just too good. It just made the script perfect first try. So I should have tried to have it do something harder. I've had it build like web scraping and data visualization. So there's one that I made where it did a web scrape of Bloomberg.com, took all of the articles in it, and then got the like the keywords in all the articles, and then plotted on a graph on how like hype or not hype it is, and it just did that in one shot. Like, it was actually crazy. So it can build some really cool stuff. It's kind of like the local CLI Claude artifacts of sorts.
Super cool, man. Well, if it's failures you're looking for, maybe I'll fire up my demo and see how this one goes.
All right, let's see what you got.
Lately, I've been pretty obsessed with making our Obsidian vault as optimized for our use case as possible. I've been making a lot of plugins. With plugins, you can really customize and enhance the behavior to have it match your workflows perfectly. So because I've been doing this, I thought, why not make an Obsidian plugin generator to make this process even faster? Get you most of the way there. So all you have to do is run the script called Obsidian Plugin Generator. Then first you pass in a name. So for this, let's just do AI Text Summarizer. And then what you'll want to do is set the vault path. Now you do this because with Obsidian, you can have multiple vaults on your computer, and you'll want to pass into the proper structure. So it's in .obsidian/plugins, and this will set it for you. So we're doing tests in the current directory. And then finally, as usual, you pass in the AI service, and I will use Grok for speed. I also spent a little too much time making ASCII art, but gotta match the colors, gotta go on brand, gotta make it look good. Enter a general description of what your plugin will do. I would like the plugin to take the highlighted text from a user and then summarize it to be about a quarter of the length. Send that through. And then what this plugin does is it takes the general description you give it along with the name, sends it off to an LLM, and gives you a question back to help tailor the creation of your plugin. What it's going to do is generate a bunch of the scaffolding, set you up with commands or settings, whatever you need, but you're not going to have to worry about starting from scratch this way. So what specific text analysis or summarization techniques would you like to use? I would like anything that gives me the most representative summary of the highlighted text. Let the AI do a little bit of the figuring out. And then what it'll do is it'll take that question answer pair and pass it along with a summary to another call. So it still gets the full context to help very much tailor the generated text to match your use case. How do you envision the plugin handling cases where the highlighted text contains multiple main ideas, technical jargon, or abstract concepts? And how should we prioritize what to include in our answer? Make sure to include all of the important stuff. If it has to be a bit longer than a quarter, so be it, but don't miss important information. Just summarize it down to the essence. And then it does cap at 3 questions, so you're not going to have to keep going back and forth too long. It just gets a general idea of what you need to build those components. So finally, how would you like the summarized text to be presented to the user in a new note in the note, blah, blah, blah. I would like it to replace the highlighted text, because if there's an error, the user can always just undo it. And then we send that along. And then it will generate the entire repository for the plugin by cloning down the actual template from Obsidian, so you can see it was successfully created. And then it'll give you a list of next steps, because when you build the plugin, you still have to compile it, install the packages. So we have it here. Let's just see how it goes. So it'll cd into test. And then, like I mentioned, you have the dot directory and then the plugin. And then your AI text summarizer plugin with everything here. The majority of the contents are going to be in your main.ts. So you can see here we have, it will pull in Bert's tokenizer and Bert's summarizer. Hugging face, like we mentioned in previous episode, will be used. You have the unload method. You'll get some command added. So you open up the command palette and you'll actually see the create note from clipboard. And there you go. It's most of the way there. And at the very end, you actually have a list of the explanation, what it does, the assumptions, in case you want to change it up. Like I said, my answer was very vague to the how would you like to summarize text. And then it gives you a to-do list. So if you want to get to the final product, so testing, add additional plugin settings, refine tuning. So these are just suggestions, but I did have it set up so it'll actually make a functional TypeScript file. So if you follow the instructions that it spit out afterwards, you'll have something that works. You just need to tweak it a little more to get specifically what you want. But the goal of this was not to generate the perfect plugin for you every single time. It was to get you most of the way there in as broad a way as possible so you can use this repeatedly over and over to make as many plugins as you want to make Obsidian as perfect for your use case as possible. So that's my demo. Thank you.
Wow, you had to bust out NeoVim at the end there just to flex on me too, huh? That's crazy, man. That's really cool. I mean, I love this idea of making an Obsidian plugin for whatever you want to. I mean, I'm so glad I switched to Obsidian from Notion because, I mean, can't do anything like this in Notion.
Yeah, and I've actually
this
seen...
is awesome.
Thank you. I've actually seen some things floating on Twitter where, because of US sanctions, they're actually going to be cutting off certain users from Notion. So if their data is not exported, it's gone forever. While if Obsidian had to do the exact same thing to cut off users, you still have that data. So again, keep control of your data. Data is the most important thing in the AI age, so we want to be able to control it.
That's fantastic, and I love how we're adding like ASCII art to these now, and you're like these little apps we're building are so much more impressive now, and so it's kind of raised the bar. I feel like every week we have to make it look a little bit better.
As soon as you made it a challenge, man, you got the competitive nature of me coming out, so we got to make sure there's a little bit of finesse and visual appeal to these things too now.
We've got to have an episode here soon that's just about like judge layers, and then make our own judges for this, because I think this is too close to call on between our two demos, and we need a third party AI here to be like, no, Mike won or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think it would be really cool. In the meantime, if anyone watching this gives a test run of either the Obsidian plugin generator or Script-o-matic, let's say whoever has the best user submitted output is the winner for this one.
Hey, there we go. I love that. Yeah, drop in the comments who wins this week.
All right, Ty, what should we know this week?
Well, I got a big one for you. I got 100 million big one for you. So, team from Magic here released a model. I think it's LTM2 Mini that they're calling it, but 100 million token context length. I mean, let that sink in for a second. That is insane. I mean, we thought a million context window from Gemini, 2 months ago was big. Like 100 million tokens? That's absolutely nuts. Like, this is RAG dead now? I mean, this is a small model right now, and it's also not released to the public, but this shows you where things are headed. I mean, like, we are not far off of our frontier models being able to handle this type of thing. And like, when that's a thing, do you need RAG for? I mean, maybe there's things that are bigger than 100 million context, but just to give you guys an idea of like what that actually entails, like, I asked Claude, I was like, okay, how many lines is 10 million lines of code? Because that's what they say in here. I think it's 10 million lines of code. Anyway, it's in here somewhere, but yeah, 10 million lines of code. If printed on paper, 10 million lines would be approximately 200,000 pages. The stack of paper would be about 20 meters or 65 feet tall. I'm like, that's an insane amount of context. A skilled programmer writes on average 50 lines of code per day. It would take about 548 years for a single person to write 10 million lines of code. Insane. And then just like the entire Linux kernel is 28 million lines of code. You could fit half the Linux kernel in this thing. I mean, it's actually insane how much code you can jam into this thing. So, I mean, I think it's really fascinating. I think what's also really cool about this is they're kind of putting their money where their mouth is, and like they made a new eval for context windows that I think is pretty fascinating. They have this thing called, I think it's like hash hop or something. Yeah, hash hop. And it's like hashes are random. It kind of talks about how like the way Mamba's doing things with benchmarks is kind of like and same with the haystack thing is kind of but they have this thing where you have prompt a model trained on hashes with hash pairs and whatever else, and for some reason this is way better that I don't fully understand, but it's cool that they have their own eval system. And like, look at this. I mean, this is absolutely insane. Like 100% recall on 32 million tokens, 95% recall on 100 million. Like, this is absolutely insane to me. And I didn't think we'd get here so fast, but we have. And I think one of the other coolest things about this too is like Magic is training these models on supercomputers. They've hired, what's his name? They hired Ben Chess, the former OpenAI supercomputing lead. Like they are playing in the supercomputer space right now. And if this is what supercomputers are able to get us, I'm all here for it. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen this week, it's something you should definitely be aware of, and it's something to think about with the things you're building, and kind of like skating to where the puck's going to be, not where it's at currently. like building tools for when this type of thing drops, because I feel like we're not that far away from being able to access these via API. So that's what you should know this week.
Man, that's absolutely insane, because it's not just the code you have in your project. It's going to be all the libraries it imports. I've never worked on a code base remotely close to that. Like, granted, Linux kernel is bigger, but that's a kernel. Every project I've had is a tiny fraction of that. And being able to pull in all the libraries to get like the optimal extraction of the dependencies is going to unlock so much more efficiency and capabilities. And I haven't kept up with Magic too much, so I'm curious if they said anything along the lines of like when they're going to be releasing the models. Are they still trying to scale to these larger models, or did it say anything about their general roadmap?
Not really. They did say that they just raised another $400 million from Sequoia, Nat Friedman, Eric Schmidt, like all the big ones. So they've raised a ton of money, and so I'm sure they're heading that direction. They've also partnered with Google Cloud. So I haven't heard when this will be released. It's definitely not out today, and it's definitely not a frontier model in the sense of like it's not a huge model. It seems like it's a smaller model is what they were saying in here, and it's not the best at coding, but still, I mean, like this is not far off, and the fact that they're announcing it means it can't be that far off.
Absolutely wild.
All right, Mike, what about you? What should we know this week?
All right, so there's a company called the Privacy and Sovereignty Company. Bit of a mouthful, but a very powerful mission that I'm totally on board with. Friend of the show, friend of tool use, Adam Cohen-Hill started this with a mission to create tools to protect individual privacy and freedom. And this is a mission that I've been aligned with for a little bit, especially in the age of AI, where there's going to be a lot more surveillance. We do want to make sure we protect privacy. Now, they've come out with a couple of things, which has been really cool to see. The first is a hardware product called Arc. Arc is a AI device that is fully self-contained and can work fully offline. So it doesn't need internet connection. It can be charged by solar in case there's a problem with the grid, or if you're out in nature without access to electricity. It has the entire world map embedded in it. So if you do get lost when you're out on a hike, it can help you get back to safety. And it actually has a LLM loaded in it that's been fine-tuned for preparedness and emergency reactions. So if you're with a friend and they break their leg, it can help walk you through the first aid treatment so you can help get your friend to safety. This is going to be one of those devices that I think will have an outsized impact on the population. And it's just the start of where things are heading. So you can pre-order it now. They'll be shipped mid-2025. And it's just one of those applications of AI that seems very positive. Now, another thing that Adam is putting together is privacy.new. Now, this is a really cool initiative. It's a free website. Check it out, where the objective is to educate and help ease the transition to privacy-respecting alternatives to services you already use. So I'm actually going to have a talk with Adam next week to kind of go over a few more options that I've explored over the years. But this, for example, if you're using Gmail currently, switch to Proton Mail. This will walk you through how to do it and give you a lot more exposure to privacy-respecting options. Brave browser, another good option. I also recommend Firefox. Signal messaging. It's actually how we conduct tool use conversations. So I'm a huge fan of Signal. But these are going to be initiatives that will be important to help educate people transition over, because data has been the new oil for a while now, but with AI, it's only going to become more and more prevalent that you can take control of your data and you protect it, and having these options be easily accessible and easily available, I think is a good thing to have. So please check out Privacy and Sovereignty Company. Check out the Arc. It might be something that you're interested in. Check out privacy.new to change up services. But yeah, happy to give a shout out to Adam. Hopefully get him on the pod eventually, but he's a good guy doing good things, and happy to see the progress.
That's awesome. That is such an important mission right now. I'm such a fan of tools that protect our privacy. And you're right, in the age of AI, it's more important than ever. So I love that. That's so simple too. That second website is just like, hey, if you're using Gmail, use Proton Mail. It's super easy to switch over. Use Signal for messaging. That's such a dead simple website and has so much value loaded into it.
Totally agree. Yep, great to see.
All right, well, for our very first guest on our podcast, we have the one and only Twodog, the open interpreter legend, creator of FarmFriend, expert at iOS shortcuts. He essentially built Apple Intelligence before Apple even did with shortcuts. It's my pleasure to introduce Twodog onto our podcast today.
Today we're talking with Bob, or as he's lovingly known in the open source community, Twodog. Twodog's been doing some great things with shortcuts and FarmFriend, and we're really happy to have you on. Twodog, how's it going?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
What got you to where you are today? Like, what's your story?
I come from the Midwest, born and raised up in Ohio, and moved out here to Oregon in the year 2000, and have been out here since. Was doing a lot of sound work and was into audio engineering after high school because I was into music and got into 4-track recording and just a really big fan of recording and playing different instruments. And came out here looking for sound work, got more into cooking work. And that kind of kept me going to get into a little bit of construction work. Right around March when I started hearing about GPT-4, went ahead and took the plunge and applied for the API key and told them I wanted to do, some farming software that was going to change the world in my use case. And I've been trying to get that done now. So that just led to learning, was given a bunch of code the first night, asked for some sort of a deep image analysis program that I could start using to try to analyze more of the phenotypic aspects of leaves of plants, because I didn't realize the discrepancies that can be in what's called a baseline in testing. And so some of the changes in these genetic testings and these different libraries, it really just kind of blew my mind. And that led into me using AI to learn more about AI and learn how to use AI. And then I got into some really wild shortcuts from a couple of guys on Twitter. One's named Steve Morocco and the other is named Nick Dobos of the HiveMind tool, and Steve, who's worked on a product called Data. And I got just really involved in playing with those tools and really got under the hood and started to learn about this sort of vertical flow of programming with shortcuts, which can be as easy as just pulling things in there or running entire blocks of code and scripts and API routes, and just a really wild prototype zone. And then playing with those tools and just making it really about waking up every day and not you literally can't wait to get out of bed and see what's new on GitHub and send Auto GPT over to try that and walk around farming, learning about how CSS works and why I would use PHP for a contact list. And so just all of us, I think, really just got into it.
That's awesome. I love that. It's crazy that you just immersed yourself so much into the code and just kind of self-taught yourself all of that in such a short period of time. So you build a lot of AI tools around farming and that kind of industry. How can farmers benefit from AI or farming industry as a whole?
Good question. Well, I want to get into some of the more creative aspects, but my first answer would just be, honestly, this whole precision agriculture aspect, the data interpretation, the truly combining data sets in ways as if you're pouring different liquids to make a combined drink in one container, and then just giving access now to farmers without subscriptions and without just a bunch of proprietary steps and all these things it takes to maybe have access to that sort of data analysis. Because truly working across hectares of agriculture when there's thousands and thousands of plants and hundreds of people involved, it's that efficiency gets magnified, and all of a sudden a few seconds here is minutes there and hours there, and cents become dollars, and now someone can maybe go on vacation or can use the tool to advertise the vegetables they've grown and actually sell them and have access to a retail market. And so it's a lot of what I've done with shortcuts is really focused around having the phone in my pocket while I'm actually farming. Not having to sit down at a desktop, do a bunch of data entry, absorb a dashboard and keep that all in my head, and then just sort of detach from that aspect. And I can still go look at GUIs on gardening equipment, but it's this sort of aspect now of just having a website to give the SOP to your entire team that you're putting up on your network, and maybe you have people of 3 or 4 different languages coming in that day to work in a field, having access to immediate translation of your own SOPs and just dispersed with AirDrop or in this mobile framework. And I know farmers aren't thinking in that sense yet, but the ability to change plans and calendars to adaptive weather calendars without a million subscriptions, the ability to, most importantly, manage your calendar, which seems maybe, with drones flying and doing all this stuff, not that important, but true, real calendar management, that sort of personalized education I was talking about earlier. A lot of farmers aren't even aware how much farming can be done with no supply chain dependency and this sort of biomimicry. And so getting that educational aspect is enormous as well, although a lot of farmers are set in their ways. And so that's another part now, finding with the context, because what Farm Friend is so focused on, I feel again, this is going to apply to all agricultural software, but true context, lots of context. aerial assessments of your infrastructure, knowing your location, your agricultural zone, knowing your team, your livestock, your pets, your preferences, potentially even your hobbies, the way, sort of working with tools that can sort of adapt and understand how you're going to learn to then allow you to have the ability to have completely tailored podcasts while you're doing farm work about the things you're doing in 4 days, the ability to like link into YouTube videos and just provide this sort of educational aspect. And then, because I could go on and on, I feel like the last big barrier and the thing that I've kind of evolved to getting really excited about a lot, and thanks to Open Interpreter, the terminal and the just like disillusion of any barriers between man and machine now, and like the smallest ESP32 to the dashboard direct download in Bluetooth from your environmental controller to literally talking to your gate and being like, yo, man, I'm coming down the path, open it up, and much more articulately important things than that. It's just like, I think that what's going to happen with AI in agriculture is that farmers are going to start to learn and realize that they have this sort of invisible, infinite helper now that's able to put them in all these different places and not just expect hard systems to operate, but have that fluidity of changing to the day's dynamics combined with your context. So there's a little nutshell.
It's a great point, because farming is all encompassing. It's a complete lifestyle. There's so many aspects to it, and it takes such a high level of cognitive load just to manage everything, especially in today's modern world, that being able to offload some of that to a little assistant seems immensely helpful. Would you mind showing us some of FarmFriend and what some of the concrete examples it can be used for?
Absolutely. All right, so I want to show you some demos here of how I get done with FarmFriend. I've been prototyping a lot of what I'm doing in shortcuts, and now a lot of these individual tools are getting rolled out into API routes for the Python and TypeScript versions that I have running recursive agents and a next.js and a Streamlit style user interface. Excuse me. One of the things I love about FarmFriend and what got me into programming was being able to just learn from AI, so I've really tried to lean into that experience now. So this is something I like to do with FarmFriend. I want you to search the web, and I want you to get information on any breakthroughs in artificial intelligence over the last week and how we could utilize those in developing FarmFriend and increasing your capabilities. Then I want you to create me a document that's a nice report, like an executive summary with all the information. And then I want you to make me a short, sweet podcast style breakdown with the bullet points. And I want you to read that to me out loud so that I know what has happened. Okay, so that's a lot. You can see I've got everything in there. I just like to talk it rather than type it. I'm going to hit done, and that will submit the query. And FarmFriend will get to work.
FF Quick Search.
So here it's calling on its quick search tools to go ahead and search the web and begin to get information about the breakthroughs in AI LLMs. Go ahead and turn off our notifications there. And now we are taking that information and giving it back to FarmFriend. It's like it's basically learning from the tools it's called on that is getting the specifics on the LLM breakthroughs.
FF Document Master.
Now it's calling on its document creation tool, which is going to create us a really awesome report. And it's going to go ahead and save that in Bear and just open it for us. It's kind of like an on-demand
FF
user
tweet.
interface aspect. Now it's going to go ahead and write a tweet, it looks like.
FF Speak Text.
Okay.
Text here are the key AI breakthroughs over the last week. N1. OpenAI released an updated version of GPT-4 with reduced latency. N2. Significant strides in multimodal AI models. N3. ChatGPT made correct medical diagnosis approximately 50% of the time in tests. N4. Microsoft announced the $3.3 billion AI data center in Wisconsin. N5. Growing concerns about electricity demand due to AI technologies. This week saw incremental improvements,
I'm gonna go ahead and
highlighting
stop this.
ongoing AI integration in various sectors.
Because we don't need to listen to it, but basically you've just got on-demand, podcasts. Now this is plugged into, I can't remember the names, but a couple different voice APIs. And so if you wanted some sort of voice synthesis or you want to hear that in a different voice, I've got it running with on-device Siri right now to try and manage resources. So now FarmFriend's basically telling us, hey, I got you the report, I got you the words, I got everything you needed, and now we're going to hit done. And now it's checking back in. So we're going to go ahead and now I'm going to cancel this run actually and start a whole new run of actions. So I'm closing FarmFriend. I'm jumping back over. I'm opening FarmFriend. I'm saying, I want you to get historical rainfall data from the internet for the location here at the farm, and then I want you to make a predictive analysis model of what sort of rainfall we will be looking at this winter. And then I want you to make me a dashboard with charts and graphs to view the metrics. And then I want you to make me a educational web page so that children can learn about the rainfall data. Okay, again, here we have the voice to text. It's my command. I'm asking for multiple things. Farm Friends got this. I'm going to hit done. It's going to get busy.
FF Quick Search.
Again, quick search is big. I tell it to use it often and repeatedly, not to hesitate. I'm using the Perplexity API. In this instance, I'm actually using it in the shortcuts, which is one of the most amazing resources I feel like out there right now. The Perplexity iOS shortcut action. Yeah, top notch.
FF Quick Search.
So it's performing the different searches it's going to take to get this sort of information from historical sources. And it's going to take this information and it's going to break it down and it's going to make us a dashboard. And so this idea of using web pages and dashboards and other things for a on-demand UI, been a big fan, and luckily I've been able to bring that into fruition. Doing the same thing on the desktop apps where you'll be able to get these sort of immediate user interface and user experiences. So now it's processing the information. Here in a second we're going to see our dashboard pop up. Pretty wild. Okay, so
FF Interpreter.
now here are some of the interactive graphs that it's made to show us the rainfall data. And after building a lot of this architecture, I look forward to now being able to go back in and really work on the system prompts that are in Farm Friends' brain, as well as in the tools. And I can turn the AI and the tools on or off and really start to play with this. But if you look back at some of the other demos, you'll see some fairly intricate dashboards and some other things in the past. Here we have something of an interactive website for children. Okay, so Farm Friends checking in. It's telling us what it's done. It's giving us the heads up. I hit done. I'm going to tell it to shut down now. Go ahead and shut down. Great work. And so it's made this sort of what it viewed to be the interactive style website that should teach kids. Go ahead and let it shut down. Okay. About the rainfall data. So we'll see more of this in action because this web tool is actually quite impressive. It can make landing pages. It can create multiple piles and save them after you've iterated with the preview. So let's do that really quick, just because I'm a fan. You know, farmers being able to sell their wares was a big deal with this. So in this case, I'll say, I want you to create me a CSA sign-up form that can collect people's information and then email it to my email that you have in your personal context. I need it to use imagery and be very bright and agricultural related. Use best practices and make it look amazing. I'm still talking to systems like I've been programming AI 18 hours a day for the last 17 months. But I'm also going to be working on making it so that just the most simplistic inputs
FF Interpreter.
will provide amazing results. I'm really trying to get this thing humming right now and show you some really cool stuff. But people can say right now, like, make me a web page for my shoe company. And I mean, you're in biz, but I'm more used to working with specific packages and multiple sections and just really sort of getting into the direction. So I see the results, so I know what to put in the system message of these tools as sort of like the catcher's mitt and how it can handle these things. So here we go. Now you can plug this into your own imagery. Right now I've got it running on an API with stock images. Farm Friend again, checking in, telling us what's up. We can touch here. We have access to its reporting as well as being able to use the share menu from here. And be able to print or, down here it is, or send to someone or airdrop or anything, which is a really nice feature of shortcuts. I'm going to go ahead and hit done. And it was asking what else we could do, so I'm just going to kind of show you this sign up form again. Really cool. And I'm going to tell it to go ahead, although I honestly didn't even see what it wants to do, so let's just be surprised. Probably need to jump over and see what it tweeted earlier too. I'm still dialing in a kind of a hard no without permission list.
FF Save File.
Okay, nice. Yeah, it's going to go ahead and save the file. And so here's It's kind of like you just right-clicked and said save as. So now I'm going to go ahead and name the file. In this case, I'm going to say CSA dash sign up dot HTML, right? Yeah. I hit done. It's going to ask what folder. I'm going to go ahead and save this in downloads. And boom, now we've saved our website. Now, if I wanted to, I can have a file tool, because this is saved as a single file web page now. I can actually have it extracted each individual aspect of the code and save the 3 files in a folder. If I want to iterate or move it on, I can use Coder to deploy to my FTP site. So anyway, there's a little example of how that works.
Well, that was awesome, Twodog. Great demos. I'm really impressed with how well those worked. So what are you working on? What do you want to plug? What do you want people to know about?
Well, right now my main thing is FarmFriend, and I am in the process of, I think as soon as the next week, going to be starting to release an open source repository to get a lot of this technology and a lot more of it focused in Python scripts. I have something of a SaaS version, let's say, that I'm going to make available at different tiers. Main goal here is get this out as an open source repository, especially in the desktop applications, so that people can deploy it in other countries. It's already working in other languages. So really trying to pour this into a gift into the world. And my hope is that, like, in working on this, I can start to pull in people that want to access some of this technology. And so getting this GitHub repository out, working on the SaaS, continuing to develop the shortcuts, pretty knee deep in Raspberry Pi. I have a shortcut that allows FarmFriend to just run code on a Raspberry Pi and do network diagnostics and start to meet the IoT sensors, let's say, because I could go on and on about that. I'm really excited about that. Working with Flipper Zero, learning about all the forms of telemetry and communication, and sort of just starting to picture this sort of magic wand diameter circumference that follows the user as we move into the future. So if any of this is up your alley, please reach out. Twodog Seeds on Twitter, Twodog Seeds on Instagram, twodogseeds.com. I know a lot of people that are watching this are probably maybe not only from other countries, but working with people in other countries. At farm-friend-v1.replit.app, there is an extremely useful, completely free version of FarmFriend that's available in any language that you type into it right now, and has been since last July. You could tell anyone you're working with, any family member, people in the Midwest to Sub-Saharan Africa can benefit from this. You can get planting calendars on taking care of your houseplants and how to, I won't go into it, but it's an amazing tool. And so just, spreading the word on that, anyone that wants to collaborate or help donate resources or funds to keep the lights on. Last thing I want to say is just thank you to everybody that's already been donating to open source, because it's literally where I'm learning bits and pieces of everything. We're just thinking, if that's possible, then I must be able to do that. And now I am able to set my compass. So yeah, I'm just really excited about everything right now, and can't thank you guys enough for, putting the word out.
Man, been super great having you. Love catching up like this. And hopefully more people open up to contributing to the open source projects, because you're putting some really good stuff out there.
Thanks, guys.
Man, very good episode today. I loved having Twodog on. That was a lot of fun. We did a few more great scripts that I really hope people do use. I hope they try it, because once you get a tool that builds tools, all of a sudden it accelerates your progress.
Yeah, and I hope that people build more stuff like that. I really, really hope that we can get people building their own tools and using all of that. And awesome, what you missed this week too, 100 million context window, privacy-focused options, hardware devices that will help you survive a zombie apocalypse. What else do you need?
Man, the show just keeps getting better and better.
It really does. It's ramping up. I'm loving it.
Yeah. Well, man, you know what? On that note, we probably should do it again next week.
I'm here for it. I'll be here next week.
Awesome. All right, buddy. Have a good one.
See you next time.